Manosphere benefits and disadvantages. Since we've been watching the manosphere for a while, it seems like people are fairly divided on whether or not it's helpful to young men. Some people see it as sad, misogynistic breeding ground for incels. Some believe that Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate are the ones who are saving masculinity today. So that's what we're looking at in this video. What is its impact on young men? Is it helping or hurting them? We think it's a little bit of both, just like everything else. We're going to explore both sides of the story, so make sure you stay tuned. Why do men like the manosphere? A person looking in from the outside might scoff at these young men in the manosphere. The growing number of disaffected young men who feel unsupported in their lives actually makes more sense than you would think. In the school system, we have guys who are struggling. The number of women attending college is way higher than the number of men. We have seen an increase in depression and self-deletion as the roles of men and masculinity become increasingly ambiguous. Many men are left existential by this, unsure of what their role is as men or even what that means. Afterward, the manager comes in and assures you that you will be guided by traditional masculinity and the community. For many disaffected young men, that's easier to get behind than anything else. Nowadays, that's what's being prescribed. Recently, Erudite and Incels had a debate where she brought up how this group had some of the highest rates of depression, neurodivergence, and a feeling like therapy didn't help them even after they tried. All of these panelists laughed her off and refused to show empathy toward the community she represented. Because how can a white man have problems because of the systematic and historical advantages of the hetero man? There are a lot of issues that they have now that aren't taken seriously because they are viewed as lesser concerns. So, when a guy like Andrew Tate comes along advocating for men's issues, the people in charge of the world pretend to care. Jordan Peterson weeps in front of millions of people for incels. These were the only guys that seemed like they cared. We are not saying all young men are incarcerated. Some people, however, do experience the same feelings of isolation and loneliness. There is problematic rhetoric in the manosphere, and we are not saying there isn't any. However, there is a lot of truth in it as well. Many young guys, including us, found Jordan Peterson's advocacy for personal responsibility to be very helpful. Many men need to hear to clean their damn rooms, no matter how simple it may seem. And we find it difficult to see any flaws in advocating for personal responsibility. The same goes for Andrew Tate. Despite all his controversy, he is a pretty inspiring person. In addition to taking a high level of responsibility, he has an insane, massive internal locus of control. He did not blame the media when he was canceled, but also himself in the way he presented himself. There is a lot of similarity between feminists who hate manosphere dudes and left-leaning feminists who hate manosphere dudes. Usually, the other gender is scapegoated and created as a target for the problems in society to empower themselves from feminists say, oh, look at these toxic men who are monsters and destroying society. It's time to get rid of them. There is another side that says hoes and promiscuous women who use dating apps and ride the carousel are poisoning. Let society get your money up and don't worry about these hoes. Don't forget to grind, hustle, and focus on yourself. Each of them is incredibly empowering to the individuals who follow. These people are telling you this when you are lonely and dependent on the love of a partner. The other gender wants you to believe you are great by yourself, so you feel less lonely and dependent on someone else's love. Being dependent on another gender and requiring love from an external source is vulnerable. It is also helpful to reflect on situations in your life where you could have gone wrong and to learn from them. The main reason I got into the manosphere as a young guy was probably because of the other generation. I was able to excuse myself of all responsibility and blame it on society, women, and everybody else. Our biases protect our generalizations when we reach physiological conclusions that comfort us. For example, when a guy sees an average dude with a hot chick and thinks, oh, that's an exception. However, when he sees a relationship that validates his ideology, he'll look for confirmations that support his theory. This is why men fall further and further into the manosphere because they're comforting to believe it. Problems with the manosphere. There is a lot of talk in Robert Greene about swaying public opinion and getting people emotionally invested in your product. One of the easiest ways to achieve this is to make them feel afraid, angry, or emotional. After that, sell them the solution. Andrew Tate tells you need money. Don't be broke. Being in the matrix sucks. By the way, 80% of women who choose 20% of men on dating apps, despite the fact that there are a lot more men on those apps than women. There is a self-fulfilling prophecy in the manosphere that is very specific to Fresh and Fit. They appeal to nature a lot. There is something naturally promiscuous about men, so they should be in open relationships. Allow their animal instincts to run wild. Do you remember hearing Fresh and Fit talk about love? As a young guy looking up to these people, you go find women because what else are they good for? And then you realize women who are willing to be reduced to sex objects are stupid and promiscuous. You get all your experiences with women from these women, thereby exacerbating the bias they told you about women being dumb and promiscuous. You think to yourself, oh right, all the women I've seen are like that, and that's what Fresh and Fit told me. They have to be right, so what else are they right about? You fall even further. It's also just a matter of volume that allows the internet to create a space where you can only see what you're interested in. You don't have to listen to other perspectives or be challenged on your ideas. Watch the new Fresh and Fit video on YouTube, and that's all there is to it. Some of the guys in the more extreme sides of the black pillar who take the red pill end up entering echo chambers after hearing something several times. The same information is repeated over and over again by their community. Some of these guys rely on the black pill format of the Fresh and Fit chat as their sole form of community and socialization in cell forum. As a result, your worldview will become muddled and distorted. I find it so fascinating how physiologically we can believe something if we hear it enough times. In other words, if it is reinforced in us. It's just so sickening for people to talk about these guys as if they were the worst terrorists in the history. But the best thing we could do for them is not to spend any time trying to help them. Since we understand what it's like to get radicalized into this group, we know what it's like to feel like no one cares about you except these people. It's understandable that some of these people do not subscribe to those more extreme ideologies. The promises of masculine unity and women ensnare them when they don't have father figures, friends, or anyone to tell them the nuances of life. As we said, the red pill and black pill all have a degree of truth, and the bigger the size, the worse it is. These guys are not the worst people, they're just misunderstood. Many men believe they possess female nature even though they have never spoken to more than 15 women in their lives, including their mothers. People make generalizations just because they watched a few videos on the manosphere. We do it to prepare ourselves for new situations, but oftentimes if we construct those generalizations improperly, it can lead to some bias and wrong perspectives. Why is Gen Z so much more depressed? That's a question everyone is trying to answer. Those in the manosphere will say it's because of women, degeneracy, dating apps, etc. In addition, some feminists argue that toxic men are allowing their male privilege and toxic masculinity to leak over and ruin everything. However, the truth of the matter is that from research we have done, Gen Z is more depressed for a variety of reasons. It's partly due to women, partly due to men, partly due to social media, partly due to the recession, partly due to the fact that everything has become more expensive, partly because we are understimulated, partly because we are overstimulated, and there are a lot of things that contribute to it being complicated. This concludes our video for today. So, guys, what do you think about the manosphere? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any future update.